Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me once again today. My name is General Confusion, and welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2, the second video of my series on the Lizard Men. I've brought a very different army this time, partially because I'm facing the High Elves, an interesting little High Elf army, and second because I wanted to test these bad boys, the Kroxigors, in multiplayer. I've been doing some unit testing, a little bit of other multiplayer fighting since the last video, and the Kroxigor have sort of popped out as a gem that I didn't really appreciate at first, but looking at them, basically I thought they were pretty much rat ogres with armor before. And that sounds pretty good, but I wasn't sure it was 1,000 points worth of good, especially not in a metagame filled with, you know, dark shards and things that can easily kill large armored creatures. But in fact, Kroxigors are much more than rat ogres with armor. They're quite a bit better than that. And so I'm going to kind of, let's talk about the Kroxigors, shall we? The Kroxigors, melee attack and melee defense stats don't look exceptional at first. Armor very high, leadership pretty good, as is usual with Lizardman units. Speed 46, decent. Weapon strength 84, not bad, but the key to this unit is the 18 bonus versus infantry. That's big. That's a very significant bonus. And what it means is Kroxigors can actually mulch pretty much any infantry that isn't specifically designed to take out Kroxigors. In custom battle testing, these bad boys could take out a unit of executioners by themselves, with no support or backup whatsoever. They can take out a couple units of spearmen back to back with no trouble and survive with a few models left, badly damaged but still alive against specifically anti-large infantry. So they are, as I said, very, very solid. And sorry, just taking a quick little screenshot there. And I really wanted to try them out in a battle context. So I've got 2 units of Kroxigors backing up a front line of mixed Saurus warriors with shields and skink cohorts. I wanted to bring this mixed line because the Kroxigors are expensive. They're 1,000 each. I did want to have a dinosaur core, and the skinks do have shields, so they can soak up ranged fire okay. Against the High Elves, I expect lots of ranged fire. In my backline, my dinosaur brigade is Kroxigor with everything on Grimlock. I have a Bastiladon with Solar Engine, and I have a Bastiladon with the Revivification Crystal. My flying coterie here, I have 2 flying skink units. I have a skink chief. I've talked about them before. They're very good assassins, especially if the enemy has brought certain lords. They can be very good against them. And I have brought a skink priest of beasts. And that skink priest has the Curse of Anra here, which I actually never used in this battle, Flock of Doom, which I used a lot in this battle, and Wissen's Wild Form, which is a pretty decent buff that increases armor and damage, so can be very useful. Also, it's very cheap and has a very low cooldown, so it's a nice little kind of utility spell. Over in the forest, then, I had to build this army in kind of a rush. My player, the other player, readied up as soon as we got into it. So I have 1 skink cohort out here hidden, flanking, and then I have 1 unit of skink skirmishers, because that was the amount of money I found myself left over with, and I just went, what the heck, I might as well spend it on something. My opponent has brought a front line of 2 spearmen and 2 phoenix guard, clearly anticipating the monster rush. He has 1 noble on foot. The noble is an interesting hero because he has a big anti-large bonus, a bonus versus large of 35, and a high armor-piercing damage attack, so this is a monster assassin. He has 4 units of Lothern Sea Guard, backing them up, 1 Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, which is that bolt thrower with the spread shot, Teclis on a horse, and Teclis has brought, now let me see what he's got, the Potion of Chiroi, Regrowth, Flock of Doom, Net of Amontok, Greater Arcane Conduit, Shield of Safari, Wild Heart, and Kindle Flame. I'm not sure why he brought Kindle Flame, but anyway. So he's brought most of his abilities, including all of his best spells. Net of Amontok and Flock of Doom especially. Regrowth is also quite good. And then the final portion of his army is 2 units of Dragon Princes, the very, very elite shock cavalry. When they have their melee martial mastery up, they have very high stats. They're extremely good. So let's get this battle started, because it does take a minute to start. I'm kind of sitting back, assessing the situation. We do have this ridge between us, so neither of us has a real clear shot at the moment. He starts firing his Eagle Claws, but they're on spread shot mode, and they're aimed at my Skink Chief, which means they do almost no damage. I'm fine with that. I'm not even going to move, because the Skink Chief eating up some of his ammunition is fine. It looks like he's now retargeting towards... Yeah, he's pulling up and retargeting towards the infantry, which is bad. So, I have a Skink Priest of Beasts, which means I have access to Flock of Doom, so I'm just going to bring them up and Flock of Doom the Phoenix Guard. Because the Phoenix Guard do not have magic resistance. He hit me with... Oh, I miscast is what happened there, but I placed an excellent Flock of Doom right there, doing damage to all these units. The Phoenix Guard are the most important ones. I'm peeling hit points off of them because magic is one of the things they're really weak to. So I did about a, I don't know, 15% damage to each of those Phoenix Guard. That's just fine. I'll take that any day of the week. I've actually pulled back slightly to keep my infantry from getting hammered by those bolt throwers. They are still going to get shot. And I'm pulling my Skink Chief around to start shooting at Teclis. So yeah, my Saurus Warriors with shields are getting pummeled by the artillery. I'm still willing to sit back and take this trade, but he's not. He's moving up his Lothern Sea Guard, I think in an attempt to shut out my flying units. I've got my little skirmish squad over here in the woods, still invisible. I'm still sitting back. Probably I should have been a little bit more aggressive, but it was worth a shot. I misplaced that a little bit and missed that Phoenix Guard. That Phoenix Guard, though, I got a good hit on with the Flock of Doom, as well as these two Lothern Sea Guards. So they've also taken quite a bit of damage, and this Phoenix Guard is almost down to half health. Now, he's netted the Skink Chief so that he can shoot at him with the Lothern Sea Guard. Unfortunately, that doesn't stop him from shooting, and you can see Teclis is already taking a lot of damage. The Skink Chief is excellent at assassinating wizard lords like Teclis because they are so fragile. My main line starts to move up. Teclis has dropped a Flock of Doom on me, so these Saurus Warriors are badly beaten up. But I've gotten more than my money's worth out of magic here. Yeah, these Saurus Warriors are taking a bit of a hammering, but the Kroxigors are perfectly safe. He's been targeting entirely the front line here. I'm moving up my Bastiladons and Kroxigor, so my plan here is I'm going to crash the infantry into the front line. They're probably going to lose, even with all the damage I've done to the Phoenix Guard, but they'll tie up the front line. The Kroxigors will punch through, hopefully through the Spearmen as opposed to through the Phoenix Guard, and get to the Lothern Sea Guard, who will be pulled back by that time, while Kroxigor goes around the flank to attack the line from the rear and hopefully finish the assassination of Teclis. Teclis has taken huge damage from the Skink Chief. At the same time, I'm bringing in my flanking force. However, they are not, I think, going to fare well because of the Dragon Princes back here that have not moved yet. In fact, I may not have noticed them yet. I think I've noticed them by this point, but they just don't really affect the plan. So the Phoenix Guard are getting a regrowth on them to heal them up, which is very effective because they've only lost one model. Teclis, however, has been badly beaten at this point. My Skink Chief is taking damage, but that's fine. Just fine. I drop another Flock of Doom, which doesn't quite counteract the regrowth, but does put a bunch of damage on all of these units. The Skink Chief is routing, but he will come back, especially because I do have both the Revivification Crystal and several castings of Cold-Blooded. So my infantry are coming charging in. One of my Saurus Warriors actually wraps entirely around the flank because I am offset from the enemy line. My Skinks charge here into the Phoenix Guard. They're going to lose that fight, but that's okay. Here my Kroxigors bull straight through the Phoenix Guard because they are already engaged and so not bracing, and the Kroxigors can chase right into the Lothern Sea Guard over here. These Kroxigors also bullying through to get into the archers. The Dragon Princes have entirely routed off my skirmishers. They are getting shot by the solar engine, not to any great effect, but it draws their attention, which is what I want, because Dragon Princes do not have much armor piercing, and Bastiladons are very, very heavily armored. Got another Flock of Doom dropped on me over here. I didn't notice these Saurus Warriors. I was busy, and I didn't see them. I was busy with Kroxigor. I've gotten him into some of the Lothern Sea Guard. I'm pulling my Kroxigors through to drive off these Lothern Sea Guard. These Kroxigors have gotten tied up with the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. The Phoenix Guard are winning in the front line. These Phoenix Guard are also not being microed, so they're just kind of standing here face to face awkwardly with these Saurus who are being revived. He got a nice rear charge with his Dragon Princes here. Absolutely crushed part of my front line, and his noble has punched through and is going after the Revivification crystal. So at this point, the battle is very, very confused, but my plan is more or less working. I do still have to deal with the Dragon Princes, because they are a big threat. But my Kroxigors have gotten through and done a bunch of damage. I've destroyed his Evil Claw Bolt Thrower. I've done serious damage to most of his Lothern Seaguard. These Kroxigors have lost their target, but need to be moving again soon. And the Skink Chief is still wearing Teclis down very, very rapidly. I'm also bringing my Skink Priest in for a charge on Teclis, just because I can, basically. Kroxigor, meanwhile, has broken free of the spearmen he was fighting, and he's also going for Teclis, so Teclis is not long for this world. This noble is coming after my Revivification Crystal, which I don't particularly like, but it can survive for a little bit here, because these are very, very tough units. I don't know why my Solar Engine is marching forward like that. I didn't want it to do that, but I had ordered it to fire at the Dragon Princes, and I think it just had to move up to get a good firing position. Didn't actually fire a shot there, though, unfortunately. So that is now locked in combat with these Dragon Princes. The problem with the Noble against Dinosaurs is that it's infantry, and so it gets punted around. Like, you saw it get punted by that Bastiladon right there. So it doesn't really... The Noble doesn't... Yep, there he goes again. Doesn't really get a chance to do a whole lot of damage. That fight is very slow. I've murdered Teclis, and Kroxigor is now coming back into the fight. My Skink Chief, who was revitalized by Cold-Blooded after being shot to death, has come back. These Kroxigors are trashing a unit of Lothern Seaguard, because that anti-large bonus does not help much against Kroxigors in the absence of armor piercing. They do have 100 points of armor. These Kroxigors are going crazy, but they've done okay. These Saurus Warriors are fighting a unit of Phoenix Guard that was chasing them after they pulled through to get after these Lothern Seaguard. I'm just really trying to shut down his missiles. I've got a Skink cohort tying up the Noble so that my Revivification Crystal can get away and charge over here to help with the Dragon Princes, who are winning this engagement but don't have armor piercing, so it's going to be very, very slow. I've got some more Skinks coming back over here that had routed off earlier. Kroxigor is chasing off archers. Kroxigor is going crazy on archers. These Saurus have routed. Too bad, so sad. I'll be seeing ya. Meanwhile, Kroxigor is coming back in. I'm dropping another Flock of Doom right here, and these Dragon Princes got torn up by it, along with these Phoenix Guard. They have a low health but a lot of models. That means it's mainly been the Flock of Doom doing damage to them. Now, Kroxigor is going to charge into the back of these Dragon Princes, who do not want to be in this monster mash. They've got Kroxigor on one side, two Bastiladons on the other. They've taken huge damage, and that damage is not going to stop anytime soon. The main infantry fight is just over at this point. All that's left is a few Saurus Warriors fighting some Phoenix Guard and Dragon Princes. This Noble is just standing here among a circle of Skink corpses, reveling in his victory as the Skinks flee. These Dragon Princes have gotten absolutely wrecked and are terrified, and are now terror routing. I've brought back my Kroxigors with a casting of Cold-Blooded, I believe. I think I'm also going to drop Wissen's Wild Form on them right before they charge in, which will help them out. But my Monster Squad has destroyed one unit of the Dragon Princes. The other Dragon Princes are running in an effort to avoid... Oh no, there they are. They're both badly, badly damaged, but that one came back from routing. So I've got my Monster Squad all together. The Noble is going to get ganged up on and viciously beaten by these three monsters. And at this point, there isn't a whole lot left that the other player can do with his lines wrecked this badly. These Phoenix Guard will clean up my Kroxigors fairly efficiently because I don't have many of them left. They will take a little bit of damage because they're not bracing, but in the end, this is a fight they'll win. But, like I said, they'll take a couple of hits, and all he has left besides those Phoenix Guard, a few very badly damaged Phoenix Guard, his Noble is about to get shreked. And I have a lot of healing. You see, I'm dropping the Revivification Crystal on itself. I still have Kroxigor's Cold-Blooded. I still have, I think, 7 charges of the Revivification Crystal. I've still got plenty of ammunition on the Solar Engine. So at this point, and I still have the Skink Chief, who still has 29 of his ammunition, so he can keep pecking away. Few Skinks, but my infantry and monsters, the surviving Kroxigors over here, any of that, that's not really the core of my army anymore. My Skink Priest is also routing. Oh well, already used everything from them. I'm at like 1 magic regen per 50 seconds at this point. There's not much left besides the Monster Goon Squad, but the Monster Goon Squad will be enough. I've routed off these Phoenix Guard. They're not coming back because I'm going to chase them off with Kroxigor. These archers don't have armor piercing, so they won't do a lot of damage. The Phoenix Guard are really the only dangerous unit remaining. And so at this point, with the Solar Engine firing on the Dragon Princes, army losses kick in, and the High Elf army shatters. So, to talk about that kind of went the way I wanted it to go. There were things that didn't work, but the core idea worked out very well. If you look at the kills, the first thing you'll notice is that the Dragon Princes did a huge amount of work. This Phoenix Guard did a lot of damage. This one did quite a bit less. The Dragon Princes got a ton of kills on the infantry line with their rear charges. First, they destroyed my flanking force, the Skink Skirmishers and the Skink unit that was out there. I think it was this Skink cohort, poor guys. And then they got an excellent rear charge that absolutely wiped out at least one unit of Saurus Warriors plus some Skinks. So that's where those kills mostly come from. The Phoenix Guard just held the line, massacred the infantry coming after them, just like they should. Unfortunately, because they were engaged before the Kroxigors hit, they were not able to stop the Kroxigors with their bracing, so the Kroxigors got to just bowl through and push into the more vulnerable Lothern Sea Guard. You can see the Lothern Sea Guard did very, very little damage in this battle. Partially that's because they were firing at Kroxigors, but partially it's because they were firing mainly at targets that were either A, shielded, or B, very high armor. So they just weren't able to do a whole lot of damage with their non-armor piercing missiles. On my side, the Skink Priest didn't get kills because he didn't get kills, but what he did do was take thousands and thousands of hit points away from the enemy army right at the start and continuously throughout the battle. He also dropped Wissen's Wild Form a couple of times, buffing up Kroxigors as they were coming back into the fight, so definitely worthwhile, especially on the Pterodon, which makes him very hard to stop. The Skink Chief sniped Teclis, sent him fleeing so that Kroxigor could hunt him down. Also, of course, he was really cheap, and he brings a casting of Cold-Blooded with him, as well as a Rock Drop. It's not very effective, but it's something, so definitely worth the points cost. I think he costs like 800 or something. And for that, for the ranged attack with 100 ammunition, plus Cold-Blooded, plus a Rock Drop, that's absolutely worth it. The Skinks basically existed to be, well, what clan rats are to the Skaven. They existed to die, and they did it very well, and they also came back a couple of times from routing and did some very important work, like stopping the Noble from chasing my Bastiladon, and getting a couple of flanking attacks that slowed enemy units down, so worth it. The Saurus Warriors did pretty well. I'm actually surprised at how well these two did. Excuse me, I'm sorry. When I saw that front line, my initial thought was, oh crap, this is going to suck for the Saurus. Because Saurus against Phoenix Guard is not a good matchup. But these two, I think, got onto the Spearmen, did some pretty solid damage, all things considered. This one, I think, was caught by Phoenix Guard and just kind of murdered, but it held for a long time. The Saurus Warriors basically just held and held and held, and prevented the Phoenix Guard from attacking my monsters, which was where they really wanted to be. The Revivification Crystal kept some of my units in the fight longer, as well as fighting those Dragon Princes for a surprisingly long time, and providing the extra healing power that I would have needed if the fight had continued, to carry it on with just the Monster Goon Squad in existence. And the Bastiladon with the Solar Engine shot at the Dragon Princes, caused some terror, and overall did a very good job. So the key units out of this army were definitely the Kroxigors, and I have to give it to Kroxigor. These Skink Skirmishers incidentally accomplished nothing. Like I said, I just brought them because I had some extra money. All they did was feed kills to the Dragon Princes. But anyway, Kroxigor, I think I figured out how to use Kroxigor now. You really have to use him as a late game unit, not an early game unit. If you charge Kroxigor through an army in an effort to get at and snipe the enemy lord, he's going to die. He's going to get surrounded, and he'll be dragged down and murdered. But using him as I did in this battle, where I hooked him around the flank, got into the archers, and then got after Teclis, that was extremely effective, and you can see he got 46 kills and lost almost no health. I think I did drop a Revivification Crystal on him once, but beyond that, he was extremely healthy, and these three units could have gone on to easily win the battle, even with all of my infantry gone, and my Kroxigors gone or routed off the map. But in any case, good game to my opponent, caught Didac. I'd love to see you again on the ladder sometime. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll definitely be continuing with the Lizard Man playthroughs. I'm starting to get a handle on it. I'm starting to figure it out. I still have trouble with Skaven. Even if they don't abuse the summon glitch, they still have some other tools that are difficult to deal with. For example, the Poison Wind Globadiers. Those units alone make the matchup against Skaven much, much more difficult. And the matchup against Dark Elves is also a little bit trickier than against High Elves because they have all those armor-piercing ranged units, all the Dark Shards. Those make it hard to use the monsters effectively. You have to be very careful with them. But anyway, I'll be putting up more. Hopefully I'll get a battle against the Dark Elves pretty soon. Usually I can. And so I'll see if I can get a good fight against a Dark Elf player somewhere here. I may well be putting up some losses pretty soon because I'm not nearly as good with the Lizardmen as I was with the Skaven. But I think I'm starting to get a handle on it. The big monsters, the Solar Engine, the Revivification Crystal, Kroxigor, you have to handle him carefully, but when you handle him carefully, he is a monster. And the Kroxigors, I was surprised at how well they did, and I'll definitely be bringing these guys in the future. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.